Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about the natal chart of James Shaw Jr. And as many of you may know, he was the man that intervened in the Waffle House shooting in Antioch, Tennessee. And many people do see him as a hero for this. Now, the birth date that I have for him is December 28th, 1988. I don't have a time of birth, but that is the birth date that I have. Again, December 28th, 1988. Now, first thing I want to talk about in this chart, well, his sun is in Capricorn, of course, and basically, as far as his basic character goes, very ambitious, likely a single-minded professional, likely mature beyond his years, and responsible and basic wants can be connected with attaining ambitions and things pertaining to the career. Now, his moon is in Virgo, so the emotional needs can be tied in with being of service to others. He has it in the 8th house in the solar sunrise chart, so this could be where being of service to others in crisis situations. So, and that is an emotional need. Also being health conscious and analysis and being punctilious with details. Now, James Shaw Jr. has a strong concentration of planets in Capricorn. He has Uranus, Saturn, Sun, and Neptune in Capricorn, all in a series of conjunctions. And this energy could be very concentrated and connected with freedom, independence, which of course is Uranus, laborious work, which is Saturn, basic wants, which is the Sun, and the compassion, which is Neptune. They could be all very well amalgamated and done with a lot of Capricorn-like consistency, premeditation, and in a very orthodox way, and in conventionality. Now, the thing too is he also has, and be career related as well. Now, Mercury is also in Capricorn, but it doesn't conjunct the other 4 Capricorn planets. Now, as far as Mercury in Capricorn goes, this could give very disciplined, premeditative thinking, but maybe intransigent in thought and really very strongly averse to emotions, clouding thoughts, which of course could serve well in a crisis or emergency situation. Now, in his chart, he has 7 planets in Earth, which suggests a very strong emphasis on pragmatism and practicality, likely good financial acumen and economical ability, probably very astute in financial matters. And with all that Capricorn energy, I wouldn't be surprised if he is could be very astute potentially in business-related matters. Now, he has as far as his solar sunrise chart goes, the one main astrological energy in air he has, there were no planets in air, and his Libra MC is in Libra, and of course, being that one, it could stand out more. Now, public image perhaps of being very reticent, humble, diplomatic, tactful, and self-effacing, and he also has, in this chart, in the solar sunrise chart, 5 planets above the horizon and 5 below. So that could show an even distribution of extroverted and introverted energy and optimistic and pessimistic energy. But he does have 9 of the 12 major astrological influences in feminine signs. And when I'm talking about the major astrological influences, I'm referring to, of course, the 10 astrological planets, the MC, and the ascendant. So I think for that reason, he's likely more introverted than extroverted and more private as opposed to being public. Now, he also has a preponderance of planets on the left side of the chart, 8 of 10 to be precise, 8 planets on the left side of the chart. So this really could certainly play a role in having little hesitation or procrastination at the time of the shooting. I mean, when you have a lot of those, when you have a majority of planets on the left side of the chart, it often suggests a more self-reliant, independent individual, and one that doesn't necessarily need an overabundance of cajoling or coaxing from others to do things. And Also, too, at the time of this shooting, he had transit Mars conjunct his natal Mercury in Capricorn. Now, Mercury in Capricorn can be very supremely disciplined, premeditative, cautious, and prudent in their way of thinking. And the thing about it is, in Capricorn energy in general is often about thinking things over for a while before acting upon it. Now, but the thing about it is, he did have this transit, and the thing is, I think that played a role in him not really hesitating that much before acting. I mean, he just completely, reacted almost instantaneously when that shooting began, and as far as getting to the shooter, tackling to the ground, and grappling with him, I guess, for the for possession of the gun, and ultimately wrestling it from the gunman. Now, the thing about this too is that having that transit Mars make the conjunction to the Mercury, that could have really been strongly connected with him taking action very quickly, and really reacting fastly to this situation with a lot of, you could say, Mars-like impatience. Now, but I think it also may have played a role astrologically as far as the burns he had on his hands, because remember that Mercury is associated with the hands and Mars can be associated with burns, and transit Mars made the conjunction to his natal Mercury at the time of the shooting. Now, also, too, he has Mars in the third house in the solar sunrise chart, which could give a surfeit an abundance of mental and physical energy, and certainly could add to a little impatience with him. So he only has one planet in water in his chart, and that is an exceptional generational planet, Pluto in Scorpio. And of course, the MC is not in water, and the ascendant is not in water, because in a solar/sunrise chart, of course, the ascendant sign is going to be the same as the sun sign. Now, the thing about this is, so when you look at this superficially, you could say, well, somebody, with all that Capricorn energy especially, might seem like he might be rather callous, undemonstrative, and not a lot of sensitivity and feeling, and coupled with just having that one planet in water, which is a strongly generational planet, Pluto in Scorpio. But I think what modifies this to some degree is that he does have 3 planets in the water houses, in the solar sunrise chart. He has 2 in the 12th house and 1 in the 8th, which is Moon in Virgo. Now, he also has Neptune conjunct his sun, which can give certain compassionate energy as well. And the chart ruler in this chart falls in the 12th house, which could give certain Pisces-like undercurrents, I believe. Now, the thing about, and he also, depending on time of birth, he may have his Capricorn sun may very well, as far as the Dwad, may be in Pisces as well, so that could give a little Pisces flavoring to his Capricorn sun energy. So anyway, now the thing about this is, he's very obviously self-effacing and saying, well, I did this really for me, I wasn't thinking about anyone else. And maybe he is actually being voracious and telling the truth, at least some degree, because Capricorn energy honestly can be very self-protective, and their interests often are going to strongly take precedence over their own. They're often very capable of looking after their own affairs, not sexual affairs, but their own activities, their own interests in life, and really, but the thing about this is, this may have been tied into a little bit of humanitarian and selfless energy as well, because his progressed sun and Mercury are both in Aquarius, or are in Aquarius at the time of the shooting, are still in at the time of this video, are in Aquarius. So, and also the fact that his sun, his natal sun, conjuncts Uranus. So this can give certain selfless and humanitarian energy as well, I believe, at least to his basic character. Now, the thing about this too is another thing that I want to talk about in as far as his chart goes. Now, the thing too, he has Capricorn Sun, but really, the thing is, as far as acting first, thinking later, well, what I believe is when someone has their Mercury in a position that follows their Sun, the person may be a little bit more inclined to act first and think later. Like if you have, say, your Mercury is in a position which comes before your Sun in your chart, then you might be more apt to think a little bit before acting. And don't get me wrong, Mercury in Capricorn, again, Capricorn energy in general is very planning, premeditative. It often does a lot of contemplating before acting, and I'm sure he's like that generally. But when you have when the Sun, see his Sun position based on the solar sunrise chart was at 7 degrees, and then his Mercury was like 22 degrees in Capricorn, so that falls after the Sun. So with him, basically, it could be a little bit more acting first, thinking afterwards. So anyway, also he has Mars in Aries, and that could have played some role in his personality and really his gallantry and his courage and fortitude, and could have applied that very well in that situation. Mars, of course, in Aries is in its dignity and can give very strong, prodigious courage. And really, what helped too is that when he had the transit Mars in Capricorn, okay, it made the conjunction to his natal Mercury, but also in the solar sunrise first house at the time of the shooting. And now this could give give people a strong first impression of courage, fortitude, and valor. And being in Capricorn, I mean, what he does in terms of acting with his bravery, done in very orthodox and conventional manner, in which he pinned the gunman down and wrestled the gun away from him. So the thing about this too, and what I thought was interesting with this chart, is that James Shaw Jr. also, what he has is he has Mercury making a trine to his Jupiter, which can be very advantageous and beneficial for work with the hands and really give dexterity. Now he works as a wire technician. Now Gemini on the 6th house cusp of his solar sunrise chart certainly doesn't hurt. And I would imagine with Gemini on the 6th house cusp, he probably is capable of doing manifold things at work and show a lot of versatility and multitasking as well. Now, James Shaw Jr. is currently in his Saturn return. Now, Saturn returns can be about significant events that could often be life-altering and set the stage, so to speak, for the next 29 to 30 years. Now, considering that that transit was conjunct his natal Sun at the time, this could have been something that gave him much exposure and notoriety and acclaim, and of course could affect him for the next 29 to 30 years and maybe even afterwards, because this is something that he's going to be remembered about for some time. And it wouldn't surprise me at some point in time he winds up being on. I didn't see him on Wikipedia.org as of yet, but I wouldn't be flabbergasted or be in a state of shock if he eventually winds up on there somehow. Now, transit Jupiter at the time of the shooting in his 10th house of status, recognition, and notoriety. Now, though retrograde, this perhaps played a role in being really very fortuitous and fortunate in terms of public acclaim and recognition. Now, also, too, being in Scorpio, perhaps this played a role with life and death issues. Now, what's interesting, too, is his Mercury conjuncts the shooter's Mercury, and his hands likely made contact with the shooter's hands when grappling for possession of that gun. Now, and of course, Mercury rules the hands. Now, another thing too, what I find intriguing about their synastry, okay, the north, his north node, Shaw's north node conjuncts the shooter's north node in Pisces. Now, This could indicate perhaps that their destinies are inextricably interwound. And being in Pisces, this could be tied in with self-sacrifice, compassion, and chaos. And of course, the self-sacrifice and compassion being connected with James Shaw Jr., the chaos being connected with the situation in general. Now, also too, Shaw's Saturn conjuncts Reineking's Uranus, so perhaps this played a role in restricting and thwarting him from carrying out more killings that were connected with this disruptive, bizarre, and chaotic energy. Now, also too, these people, James Shaw Jr. and Travis Reinking, they're born only 35 days apart. James Shaw Jr., birthday again, December 28th, 1988, and Travis Reinking's birthday is February 1st, 1989. It's the 35-day disparity. So they have 6 planets in the same sign. The North Node, of course, is in the same, their North Nodes are in the same sign, and their Chiron is in the same sign as well. Wouldn't it be something if we ever got the actual time of birth for both these people? It'd be funny if their ascendants were in the same sign. I have a feeling they probably aren't, but it would be very ironic if they were, and it would just be almost like they were just so destined to come into contact with each other and be involved in such a a situation that, I mean, it just gives connected with so much publicity, and it's just it's terrible that 4 people, I believe, were killed though because of this. So anyway, the thing about this, and also too, my North Node, it makes a conjunction to both their North Nodes in Pisces, and maybe I guess perhaps I was destined to have a connection with them through doing the videos connected with them through the metaphysical, which of course includes astrology. Now, another thing too, as I thought was interesting, in the solar sunrise chart for James Shaw Jr. Now, he had a transit North Node in Leo in the 7th house, which could indicate or suggest perhaps that, I mean, when you're talking about the North Node in transit, this could often be about issues that have to be confronted or addressed. And this could have been about dealing with an open adversary that maybe was arrogant, egotistical, overly flamboyant, and attention-seeking. And sure enough, that's what he had to confront in this particular situation with the shooting at the Waffle House. And another thing I noticed too is that in the solar sunrise chart of James Shaw Jr.'s, he has his the vertex in Leo, very close proximity to the 8th house cusp. I think it was like about a degree from the 8th house cusp. So this could be about perhaps some kind of preordained, destined type situation he'd be involved in that would be very dramatic and really in crisis related. And sure enough, that's what he became involved in. And Leo energy, of course, could be very much about exposure, notoriety, and attention. And this something that was a life and death situation, I mean, really gave him, I mean, that situation has given him a lot of attention, a lot of publicity, and he's receiving a lot of accolades and being lauded for what he did, and rightfully so. And many people do see him as a hero. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for my take on James Shaw Jr.'s natal chart. Stay tuned next time, where I will be giving you my Sagittarius May 2018 horoscope forecast. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.